In my opinion, low interest rates out to 2014 or even beyond. Some people said that they thought it was like 2015. And essentially what we're talking about is negative real interest rates. I am of the opinion that it's a sign of weakness. I don't think it's a lever that actually works in the long term. Indeed, we've had kind of a lesson in economics as to what happens when you have the interest rate too low. You distort. And right now there's a lot of distortion going on. And it's artificially low, and you distort the allocation in the economy. And of course, the idea is that this is a way to effectively subsidize the banks. So the banks make more profits, and then they can get on side. There's got to be other ways to do that. And I don't mean by subsidizing. So you could consolidate. We don't need 9,000 banks in the US. Don't need 6,000 banks. So there are other ways to do that more effectively than kind of distorting the interest rates, and it has so many negative effects. People say, well, that will help the housing market. No. People are not going to be building houses when there's so much inventory out there. And that inventory was built because of a low interest rate policy of the former chairman of the Federal Reserve. So there was a so-called bubble in housing because of amazingly cheap financing, and people that actually owned houses, they did a equity withdrawal, increased their mortgage, refinanced at a cheaper rate, and then spent the money. Did that help us? I don't think so. In the long term, I think it was a disastrous policy. So I'm kind of the opinion that it's better for the market to work out some of these things rather than going and distorting. I don't mean that that we should step back and not do anything. And there's a lot of operations that the Federal Reserve does that are extremely useful in terms of providing liquidity to the market, so people can actually go out and not have the usual frictions and actually borrow money to finance good projects at corporations. So I'm not talking about that. But what I'm talking about is at the short end, 1% or 25 basis points, it is basically distorting the market, and it's probably going to have negative consequences in the future. To have a low interest rate through 2014, I think, is a sign that they've run out of bullets. They've got this mandate that you've got to have low inflation plus growth, and they've run out of bullets. So got to do something, so we'll say 2014 for low interest rates. So I think overall it's not in the best interest of the economy, but it's also not a disastrous move. So it's not going to cause calamity in the future, but it is distorting.